As the vicious daisies swarm the ground, as the seagull fetters the air in a prison of feathers, as the trees graffiti the pristine blue dome of morning in a nervous encryption, I stand beyond all the deviances of intelligibility. I'd surf. I'd go surfing on Dune Road in the Hamptons. I'd get out, it's wintertime, and I'd turn the key to my Toyota pickup, get the heat going, and just read Wordsworth, and like just be looking out my windows and seeing like the reeds, the Phragmites waving in the wind. It was just perfect. It was perfect. And then I'd go out and surf again. Growing up large with my mother and my sister, because my parents split, and that's who I kind of grew up with. My father was a clamor teacher. He taught phys ed. He teach kids to play, which now I have such a huge appreciation for, because the way that play, again, is involved in the creation. Growing up through high school and having long hair being a heavy judgment being laid down on that, and surfing was a savior. It was like, well, bugger you, because I can go play in the sea by myself all day, and the ocean doesn't care about my long hair, and neither do the other guys surfing, because they're a bunch of bandits too. I was able to spend a lot of time in nature. I moved to Australia. I studied philosophy and geology in college, because I did a semester abroad there. What was so refreshing and breathtakingly beautiful about Australia when I first went there in '97, it reminded me, or at least in my imagination, of what America would have been like in the 40s or 50s. Surfing, living, writing, short stories and poetry, which is what I've always, it's definitely my first love. It was a really beautiful, beautiful time. It was so raw and pure. And I was such a physical kid. I was a kid who played in the woods all day. Like going to school was like a chore. It was, as it is for most kids, but like putting clothes on was anathema to me, period. When you first go back to school in August, right, it's summertime, I'd be on my shorts with no underwear on. My dad be pushing me on the swing, see my balls hang out of my shorts, and then yell at me to get back inside and put on some underwear. Clothing in that sense wasn't something I cared about. And so my first outing was for maybe not caring. I would get creative and raid my sister's closet, because if my closet was kind of sparse, her jeans, because they fit tighter, just things based on fit. This Benetton sweater that was like striped and really cool colors, and I just loved that, so I'd put that on. It's just because it's easy to work in. When you get sweaty doing things, and these are great for that. And these are just 1940s dead stock shoes, no brand, no name. So this regal robe you see before you was I guess a bathrobe or a nightie that my mother made for my father back in the 70s. I'm not a tie wearer, but this was so beautiful, I had to have it. It's almost like wearing women's clothes. Wearing a suit and tie is like, it's as confronting to my being as wearing a dress would be. And then this is from my friend Nico's beautiful store in Paris. It's a woman's hat, I'm pretty sure, but if you kind of look at it, the way it kind of comes around, like the crown, it reminded me of a flower. That's why I was attracted to it, a black flower, but a flower. This is a Nietzsche quote: "Supposing that truth is a woman, what then?" It's pretty sure it's from the first, I think it's like the opening lines of Beyond Good and Evil. I think it puts a finger to the elusiveness of truth. Look no further than the fact that we come from women. I mean, how can we not be part woman? He comes out, oh, it's a boy. Well, here's what a boy does. Here's what a boy looks like. Here's how a boy feels. This is the boy's consciousness. No. So these are the first shorts I did. And they're just kind of plain Jane shorts, but aside from the fabric, because I just wanted to be about the fabric. It's beautiful, organic nature forms. The line for me is like this beautiful culmination and cohering and interweaving of everything I like to do, which is write and make films and take pictures and just do fun and interesting things to keep the designing process of the clothing anyway fun and interesting. So I make these sort of suits to go out into the water with and surf, and it's part of a I don't know, it's like a phenomenological study of surfing. Like, I don't even understand what surfing is. I don't know what it is that I'm doing. Surfing is like this really cosmic thing. It's like energy and light that's been put off millions of years ago. It's excess. It's just garbage just going out into the universe, and then it eventually creates waves, and that's what we get to like dance on. It's like a dance with garbage. And so this is, these crazy suits are not just to be crazy, they're just to kind of draw attention to the sort of cosmic nature of it. I want my clothing to
happen with people. So an interaction and not an overlaying, a happening with, not a thrown on. As much as possible, trying to keep it open to accident and trying to keep it poetic, having the rhythm and structure of like say a Rimbaud poem or a Walt Whitman poem. I met my wife, she told me they wanted her to go to New York, and I was like, all right, well, we got this little cottage out east where I grew up, and I quit assisting, working with photographers to renovate it. And that was about a year and a half when I quit, assisting and the whole kind of fashion element of my life. It was such a breath of fresh air, and to be working with my hands and to be, just making things and building things and sweating and making a home is a really cool thing. Building up a tolerance for discomfort is essential to anything, I think. And there's few things more discomforting than lugging pail after pail of dirt out of a ditch or demolishing an entire brick house in 90-degree heat. Things not being easy is good. That rhythm of discomfort and comfort and stress and release, and that's all good. If you're healthy with life, you need to be accepting of death. Spend 5 minutes with nature, and you see that very quickly. That cycle. I always look at trees and think, man, I can think of no better way to go, or I can think of no better eternity than like going into the ground and becoming part of that tree and becoming the sap from that tree that a bird comes by, or the nectar that the bird takes and then flies over an ocean and shits me into the ocean, and then some fish eats my shit. It's just such that kind of flow. And being a dad, that's a very serious endeavor. The mirror of your goodness is going to be held up very quickly. Most childhoods are travesties of experiment, which is perfect, which is the way it should be. I think that's almost across the board, and great, because you know what? Hopefully some cool butterfly emerges. Art's not an end product. It's clearly only a beginning. It takes experience and experiment to make something, but that's only as a platform to continue the process of creation and experiment. Not knowing, that's the condition of creation.